These 3 security cameras hide the most disturbing secrets. The footage you're about to see shows the exact moment 8-year-old Salem Sabatka was abducted. She was ripped from her mother's arms in broad daylight in Fort Worth, Texas. The images may be shocking to some viewers. Although Salem was abducted in 2019, her case is closely connected to another kidnapping that happened 23 years earlier, only 15 miles away. This is 9-year-old Amber Hagerman living a happy life with her loving mother, Donna, and her little brother, Ricky.
Look, Mom, I made this for you.
Thank you, that's pretty.
A camera crew is following the family on little Amber's 9th birthday. The moments are captured for a documentary that will never be released. But the most disturbing thing about this footage is it was filmed just weeks before her abduction. These will be the last images of Amber Hagerman, the little girl who would be the key to solving Salem's kidnapping, and whose name the world has come to know every time we hear an Amber Alert.
Get on the tram! Got her! We got her!
It's January 13th, 1996. In the city of Arlington, Texas, Amber is over at her grandparents' house with Donna, her mother, and her little brother, Ricky. At 3:10 p.m., Amber grabs her bike and heads out on Highland Drive with her brother in tow. Before she leaves, she's told to go no further than the street block.
The last thing I told Amber was, stay with your little brother and you'll come right back. She was riding her bicycle. She turns around and she says, okay, Mommy, I love you.
3 minutes later, at 3:13 p.m., Ricky sees that his sister is going further than she's supposed to. He then decides to turn around and head home, leaving Amber by herself. When Ricky arrives alone, his mother Donna begins to worry. She and her father go out right away, looking desperately for little Amber. When last Ricky saw her, she was no further than the corner store, 2 blocks away.
I went screaming, hoping that she would hear me, that she would come home. She was gone.
Amber is nowhere to be found, but one man saw exactly what happened and called 911.
Arlington 911, what are you reporting?
Yeah, I saw a black pickup, and he grabbed a little girl and he took off toward town with her. And she hollered.
I had seen that little girl over there playing up and down there, and he run up behind her and grabbed her. He turned around and come right back to here where his truck was, where the door was open, and put her in the truck.
Right away, the police send a unit on site where Amber was abducted, while a search is launched around the neighborhood.
At night, we had some information to be on the lookout for a black pickup truck. Officers were following every black pickup truck that moved in the city.
But every second is crucial, as the driver could be getting further and further away from the crime scene. At the same time, Donna contacts friends and family to pass out flyers with Amber's picture on it. As neighbors become aware of the kidnapping, the search party grows in size, and more volunteers join in. So many people just wanting to help start showing up at the house that they begin to fear maybe the man who took Amber could have walked in and no one would know. As the hours pass, Donna is terrified at the possibility that Amber may never be found.
If you haven't found them within 24 hours, they're more than likely dead.
I just stood outside, just constantly waiting and waiting and waiting. The police told me I had to go inside because all the media and everybody's starting to come.
But Donna and her family see the media coverage as an opportunity to get the public involved. If everyone sees Amber's picture, there would be more chances of someone coming forward with information.
We want her back.
I beg you, don't hurt my little girl.
The search in the immediate area does go on, although police say the reality is, if this alleged kidnapper was in that pickup truck, he could have driven off and be long gone by now.
January 14th, one day after Amber's abduction, police are following hundreds of leads, but no progress is made.
Can you describe this guy to me that you saw? What kind of truck is it?
Donna is losing hope. She feels powerless to help her daughter, but she knows she can't give up. Police have a unit assigned to Amber's case and work tirelessly around the clock to find her. But as the days pass, the media coverage decreases, and less volunteers come in for the search. More than 72 hours after the abduction, people are starting to think that the kidnapper has taken Amber far away, in another state. And the questions on everyone's mind remain: who could have done this, and why Amber? Just 7 weeks before the abduction, Amber is being filmed by a documentary crew following her mother's every step.
You're doing these stamps, and you have to do the perfect.
In just a few days, it will be Amber's 9th birthday, but for now, she's focused on school.
I had to get A on a row, A, B on a row, and I had to do good things in the class and help.
So you make good grades?
Mm-hmm. And the stories,
How many students?
12.
The smart little girl also does her best to help her mother around the house. The mother and daughter share a special bond, one the camera crew captures on many occasions.
Look, Mom, I made this for you.
Thank you, that's pretty. Dear Mom, this is for you that I made at school. I love you a lot. Love, Amber.
The camera crew is filming Donna for a documentary on welfare reform, but in a twisted turn of fate, these became the last images of Amber.
Blow my baby. All right. Birthday, darling. Love you.
Oh, this is heavy.
Sounds from Mommy.
The footage of her 9th birthday is now heartbreaking to watch. Nothing could prepare them for what the future holds in just 7 weeks.
We interrupt this program to bring you the following News 8 special report.
We have late developments into the Channel 8 newsroom, and it is a rather ominous development in the case of 9-year-old Amber Hagerman.
January 17th, 1996. At 11:41 p.m., Arlington's dispatch receives the call everyone's been dreading. Amber's body has been found in a creek, only 4 miles from where she was kidnapped.
Apparently he was walking our dog, and he had looked over the fence and had saw something white, looked again and noticed that it was a body.
I didn't want to believe it. It's not my little girl. I want to see my little girl.
Donna is destroyed. When she rushes to see her daughter's body, Amber is in such bad shape that the police try to prevent Donna from seeing her.
They told me one thing I can't do was pick her up and hold her like a mom would her child. I wanted to hold her, but I got to hold her little hands and told her, Mommy's here now, it's okay.
Police today released new information they hope will provide a psychological profile of the person who killed the Arlington 9-year-old.
As the death of Amber Hagerman is broadcasted to the world, it sparks outrage in the community. With no lead on a suspect and no arrest being made, the monster who killed Amber is still out there, free to act again. Every parent now fears for their own child's safety.
What are we going to do to protect our children?
I'm terrified to let my children outside.
We're frightened. We're really scared.
The loss of Amber has broken Donna's family into pieces, and she does her best to keep a healthy home for little Ricky. The poor boy who lost his sister begins to act out, and though he doesn't quite understand what happened, he blames himself. What if he had just stayed with his sister? Would she still be here? As the police investigation moves forward, they release the killer's profile, a white or Hispanic male in his 20s with dark brown or black hair, under 6 feet in height. The Amber Hagerman Task Force also gathers as much information that could lead to an arrest as they can. While most of the forensics evidence was washed away by the rain the night she was found, here's what we know. The suspect drove out of the Winn-Dixie parking lot in his black short-bed pickup truck and took a left on East Abrams Street at around 3:15 p.m., driving away from the nearby highway. He left no fingerprints on the bike as he grabbed Amber under her arms. The witness, Jimmy Kevill, saw the scene from his backyard on Ruth Street. Police believe other witnesses might have seen this from the laundromat across the street.
We were concerned that there could be people that were there at the laundromat. If there is a witness or witnesses, we would just ask that anybody with information come forward.
4 days later, the body was found by a man named Stuart Conger, who was walking his dog near the creek. The creek itself is well hidden, and it is likely, police say, that the killer knew the area well.
This could be the guy next door. It is our belief that he has intimate knowledge of where she was taken. He either lived or worked in that area, and where she was found, because it was not an easy place to put a child.
But what's more shocking is that the creek where Amber's body is found is only 4 miles away from where she was abducted. If the man who took her came back this close to the scene of the crime, is it possible that he lived close by? Could he have used another car to drive back with her body and avoid detection? How did he go around in an area surrounded with houses in winter where there's no foliage for cover without being noticed?
We have every reason to believe that this individual may have committed this crime before.
Somewhere out there, someone knows this individual, and they have not come forward after 6 months. I can't grasp that.
We believe that the suspect kept Amber Hagerman alive for up to 48 hours after she was abducted.
Donna can only imagine what that monster did to her little girl while she was still alive. She feels powerless, wishing she could have been there to protect her. In the days and weeks that follow her death, Donna agrees to let the documentary crew film the events to tell her daughter's story. But the heartbreaking images show best how broken Donna really is.
A lot of times I want to be with her. But I have my son, and I look at his precious little face, and I couldn't do that to him.
Then I think back how much of a fighter she was, and I don't want to let her down. I want her to see that Mama could keep going and be strong and take care of her little brother.
Donna is understandably angry as no arrests have been made. But the one thing that could help police solve this case is information from the public. And as the days pass, police get fewer and fewer leads.
I just can't sit at home and do nothing. I have to do something.
Donna wants justice, but with no one to direct her anger towards, she needs to find a way to make sure her daughter didn't die in vain. Using her voice to bring about change, she goes on television, hoping her daughter's story will be enough to convince lawmakers to increase the sentencing for these horrible acts.
What do you want the laws to say?
We want first-time offenders life in prison without parole. Something needs to be changed, and it needs to be now.
There's no way that my daughter's death is going to be in vain.
The Subcommittee on Crime will come to order.
She also testifies in the hopes to help pass a bill to create a nationwide system that will track sex offenders.
When this man took my daughter, he took my dreams, my best friend.
Take your time, please. I know it's not easy.
Sorry. I would never ever want another mother to have to go through what I had gone through, or another child be taken away. So as a mother, I am asking you to change the laws, protect all the children.
But one thought keeps haunting Donna, something that should have been crucial in finding Amber quickly. Why did it take so long for the public to know about the abduction, valuable time that could have saved the little girl? Donna isn't the only one worried about this issue. Amber's story reached the right person at the right time and sparks an idea. A woman named Diana Simone, who has no knowledge in broadcasting, contacts her local radio station in the hopes that her idea can help save the next child.
Today we're unveiling the Amber Plan.
The idea is adopted and becomes the first ever emergency broadcast system, alerting listeners of child abductions. The system is called Amber Alert, in memory of Donna's daughter.
Amber Alerts play a critical role in finding missing children across the country.
You see it pop up on your phone. You hear the noise. A few seconds of panic.
Amber Alerts are broadcast on news programs, billboards, mobile phones, and now on social media.
It would take almost 10 years before every state adopted it.
The year is 2019, 23 years after Amber's abduction. And still, no arrest has been made in relation to Amber's case, but Donna has never given up the search for her daughter's killer. It's May 18th, just 15 miles away from where Amber was abducted. Salem Sabatka and her mother are walking down 6th Avenue in Fort Worth, Texas. At 6:38 p.m., a resident's door camera captures this video of Sabatka being torn from her mother's arms. Right away, the neighbor calls the police and shares this video, which allows them to identify the car brand.
They got enough of the back of the car to really identify the type of vehicle it was.
Police launch a manhunt with multiple departments sharing the video and the picture of the car. 7:00 p.m., police find another security camera which captures a clearer image of the car driving off. Soon after, an Amber Alert is issued. Salem Sabatka taken by force. The alert triggers a massive hunt by ordinary folks. One of them, a pastor named Jeff King, goes around the city looking for the identified car. Later that same night, Jeff finds the car in a hotel parking lot. Police rush to the scene. 2:22 a.m., this body cam captures the moment police make their intervention.
BART Police Department, open the door! Open the door! Open it now! Open it! Hands! Let me see your hands! Step out here! Step out! Step out! Chill. Get on the ground! Chill. Blood bed. Hey, good shit! Got her! We got her! Yes. Hey, buddy. We need an EMT. Get Cole Midstar. Yes. No. Don't worry about your clothes. We got a towel? Can we cover her up? Yeah. With something? Here you go, baby. Can we get her out? Come here. Work these two scenes. Let's go. Come on, sweetheart.
You're okay? You're safe? We got you.
You're gonna be okay.
I'm here to report that Salem has been found safe.
Salem Sabatka is one in more than 1,000 children who were rescued safely from an abduction because of the Amber Alert.
This is a time when social media truly was a force for good.
They become more than just the eyes and ears. They become the search party. They become the rescuers.
Although Amber's case remains unsolved, Donna can't help but feel her daughter's presence whenever a child is found alive.
When I hear the Amber Alert and I hear their child is back reunited to their parents, I look up to heaven and say, oh, you did it again, baby girl.
Almost 99% of all Amber Alert cases get resolved.
The Amber Alert, I'm very, very proud of it because it is saving our children's lives. It's helped bringing our children back to mommy and daddy. It's another legacy from my daughter that she didn't die in vain. She is still taking care of our little children as she did when she was here, and I am very, very proud of my daughter.
Amber's legacy lives on with every child rescued. And even though she's no longer with them, her mother Donna and her brother Ricky continue to make Amber proud with every step they take in life.
Richard Hagerman. Richard would like to be a policeman.
Even after all these years, Donna continues on her quest to bring justice to Amber, and she's not alone. The Arlington Police Department has followed more than 7,000 leads to this day.
They did reveal that for all of this time, they have had some small piece of evidence that they have held very close to the chest.
They do have a small amount of DNA, and they hope with new technology, they get a DNA profile and catch the killer.
Detectives come and go. Some have passed away, some have retired. But someone will always be here to carry Amber's banner. And we absolutely believe that this case will be solved.
Amber desperately needs justice. I'm not gonna give up on her. Never.
If you have any information about the 1996 abduction case of Amber Hagerman, please call the Arlington detectives at 817-575-8823. Pay attention to the girl in the white shirt. This is 18-year-old Nia Wilson. She's getting off the train to transfer, like many other people in the crowded station. But watch again. This time, don't look at the girl. Instead, watch the man behind her in the white and gray hoodie. He follows her off the train, pulling his hood down and taking off his sunglasses. He looks around as if to plan an escape route. Then, he reaches down, pulling something out of his pant leg. Look closer. The item he pulled out is a knife. He quickly covers it up with his sweatshirt, but he has it at the ready, and no one else in the busy train station has noticed. The girl he's following, Nia, is on her way home with two of her older sisters, Tashaya and Latifa. They just called their dad to let him know they should be back soon, and they wait for the train doors to open. But moments later, the man attacks. Taking advantage of the panic that follows, he blends in with the crowd. He runs down the stairs and exits the station, running through the gate before seeing police outside. Recorded on an officer's body cam, he pretends to be a witness to the attack, telling them someone was injured on the platform. He waves them up, and they run to the scene to help the girls, unknowingly letting their attacker get away. He escapes from the station without anyone chasing after him, and he runs to a nearby parking structure. Then, he changes into a different hoodie, putting the other in a backpack, and he takes off his shoes and sweatpants. Next, he runs out and over to a bus stop, When a bus pulls up, he fakes an injury so he can get a free ride. After getting off the bus and away from security cameras, he disappears. He believes he thought of everything to escape justice, but in this footage, police will find the crucial mistake he made during his getaway that will ultimately lead to his capture and avenge the sisters' attack. It's July 22nd, 2018. Around 9:45 p.m., the girl's dad gets a frantic call from his daughter, Tashaya.
I couldn't understand what she was saying. All I could recognize her saying was BART. I figured maybe they got into a little skirmish with somebody on BART.
Unsure of what he'll find, he rushes to the car right away and drives to the MacArthur BART station, or Bay Area Rapid Transit. All he knows is that his girls are in trouble, but what he sees there is worse than he could ever imagine.
When I got there, I see a bunch of ambulance and police. I see them loading Latifah in the ambulance. I seen blood dripping down her arm, and I asked her what happened. She just said, go check on Nia. I turn around, I run up the stairs at BART, and I see my daughter's body. It's the hardest thing I ever experienced in my life. Seeing my baby dead.
It's impossible for Nia's dad to wrap his head around what he's seeing. In less than 3 minutes from when she was stabbed in the neck, Nia has died. Her dad also has the heartbreaking task of calling her mom, Alicia. When she hears what happened, Alicia is shattered. In disbelief, she leaves her home in Sacramento and heads for Oakland right away.
It was like the longest, quietest, because I kept on waiting on them to call back and say she okay.
While they're trying to process the attack, Nia and Tashaya's sister, Latifah, is fighting for her life at the hospital after getting stabbed too. Her family is left in shock, wondering who could have attacked them and why.
I'm just trying to figure out, do I know him from somewhere? Did we have an interaction with him in any way, shape, or form? Because who is this? And why did he target us? I just felt like rage.
This is the parents' worst nightmare. That's my baby girl laying up there. I want justice for my daughter.
Even though it happened in a crowded place, the man was able to get away, right past security and police officers. No one knows who or where he is, but security cameras in and around the train station captured the attack, the moments leading up to it, and the man fleeing afterwards. And as investigators review the footage, there's a breakthrough. In the video, the man can be seen inside a nearby parking structure, leaving his backpack behind before running out to the bus stop. Within hours of the attack, police find the bag. It has several personal items in it, allowing them to identify the man, 27-year-old John Lee Cowell. When investigators look at his records, they find he's a convicted felon out on parole. In the past, he's been convicted of assault with a deadly weapon and armed robbery. There doesn't seem to be any connection between him and the Wilson family, but there's one more hope for details about the attack: Nia's sister, Latifah, who's coming to at the hospital.
I remember pulling up to Highland, and from then on, it was kind of a blur. And then I seen my brother, then my dad come in, and I'm like, where's Nia? And he hesitated. And my dad ended up telling me, and that's when I tried to get out the bed. And my brother was like, don't get up, don't get up.
Latifah learns what happened to Nia, and with her killer on the loose, the heartbroken family is desperate for answers. Still recovering from her own injuries, Latifah tells them about the events earlier that night. Just hours before the attack, Nia, Latifah, and Tashaya were visiting family. Their Aunt Teresa had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and the family wanted to have a celebration of life while she could still spend time with them. They went to the celebration, and afterwards, around 9 p.m., they got to the Concord BART station, heading back home to Oakland. As soon as the man saw them on the escalator to the platform, he targeted them. The girls waited about 15 minutes for the train. Security footage shows him keeping an eye on them the whole time, planning his attack. When they walked towards the doors, the stranger put on a hoodie, grabbed his backpack, and followed them. He entered the train, sitting down near the sisters. For multiple stops, he watched them behind his sunglasses, but he didn't approach them. When the sisters reached MacArthur Station around 9:35, they moved to step off the train to transfer, and he followed. Tashaya got on the next train first. Then, a woman with a baby in a stroller started to back out through the doors, and Latifah and Nia waited on the platform.
She don't see us because she's backing up, but the baby like this at Nia. And Nia, hi, baby. And me and Nia proceeded to walk onto the BART train, but all you hear is, and Nia flung forward. And before I know I could turn back to me, and that's when Nia screamed my name.
I seen Nia, it was like she tripped. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do at that moment.
But all of a sudden, Tashaya saw blood. Nia was stabbed twice in the neck, and Latifah, who was standing next to her on the platform, was stabbed too before the attacker fled.
The doors had closed and then they had reopened, and then I started screaming, trying to go find help. I believe an officer came and talked to me. I was just like, go help my sister, just make sure she's okay.
The woman with the stroller quickly threw her baby's blanket over Nia's neck, and Latifah pressed it against her, desperately trying to slow the bleeding and save her sister.
And all I could think of is like, apply pressure. I'm not knowing if I'm hurting her. I'm not knowing if I'm making it. And then I turned around and the security guard just grabbed me. It was like, you've been stabbed too.
The security guard pulled her away, but Latifah didn't care about her own injuries. All she could think about in that moment was her sister.
I still feel that guilt of I couldn't save her. She just yelled my name. Tifa, Tifa, Tifa.
And what did you say to her in those final moments as you were with her?
I love her. And we're gonna get through this. And I said, I got you, baby, I got you. You're my baby sister.
Latifah and Tashaya would do anything to catch the man who took their little sister away from them. Before her death, Nia had worried about the possibility that she or her loved ones might someday be attacked solely because of their race. She had told her family that if something like this ever happened to her, she wanted them to keep fighting to hold the attacker accountable. Now, facing Nia's fears coming true, her family refuses to let her killer get away with it. Nearly 12 hours after the attack, there's renewed hope of bringing the man to justice when police share his photo and information with the public.
He is a violent felon who is currently on parole, and we currently have an active arrest warrant for his arrest for the murder of Nia.
But when I tell you all my brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody was looking for him.
News spreads quickly, and the residents of Oakland do all they can to help in the search. The man was a complete stranger to the whole family, and they worry that it was a racially motivated attack. While police recovered the footage and backpack within a few hours, it took them nearly 12 hours to release the man's information, and people feared that her killer wouldn't be caught if they didn't bring more attention to it themselves. Posts about Nia spread across social media with the hashtag #SayHerName, which started as a campaign to bring awareness to Black women and girls who were victims of police brutality. As the movement grew, it was used to bring more attention to victims of anti-Black violence. Outrage builds, and around 1,000 members of the community gather at the train station for a vigil for Nia, pushing to get her story heard, honoring her and demanding justice. Even with so many eyes looking out for the man who killed Nia and tried to kill Latifah, it seems like he might have vanished. But during the vigil, police get an anonymous call that changes everything. The caller says they're on a BART train, and they recognize someone on the train with them as the man they've been looking for, John Cowell. The train is headed right towards MacArthur Station, the scene of the crime, and where the vigil is being held. Police don't know if the man is aiming to hurt more people, but they race to stop him before he has a chance. They wait at MacArthur Station for the train to arrive, hoping to catch him by surprise. Then, the train gets there, and the doors open. Officers look everywhere, but they don't see him. However, at the nearby Pleasant Hill Station, around 20 minutes away, officers search the train for him too. This time, they find the man right in the middle of the doorway.
Tell you in a minute. What's your name, sir? John Cowell.
He doesn't put up a fight or try to run, and officers arrest him without incident. Less than 24 hours after the attack, the manhunt has come to an end. But while the man seems cooperative in this footage, he still has a plan to try to escape justice. In February of 2020, John Lee Cowell goes on trial. He has a history of mental illness, and he pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. When he testifies, he leans into it, saying he believed the sisters were aliens who kidnapped his grandmother.
He just made a mockery out of it, like the things he was talking about up there because he wanted to play crazy.
At one point, I intended to play the video to demonstrate that he knew what he was doing. He started screaming, yelling, cussing at me, telling me that I knew he was innocent, and simply disrupting the courtroom.
Even after the judge repeatedly warns him to stop, he continues his rant, cursing at the prosecutor, and gets removed from the courtroom. The security footage from the night of the stabbing makes it clear he had a plan to attack and escape, even having a backup outfit to change into afterwards. He targeted the sisters instead of anyone else at the station, and the prosecution considers charging Cowell with a hate crime as well.
There were many women and people who entered into the BART platform. He did not focus on any of them. As soon as he saw 3 young African-American women, he fixated on them, and every indication, every angle of the surveillance makes that very clear. While he was in custody, he went out of his way to engage an African-American deputy and proceeded to call her lots of racial slurs as well. There's no doubt in my mind that the assault was racially motivated.
You killed her because of her skin. You didn't kill her for anything else.
But with how difficult it would be to prove it was a hate crime, District Attorney Butch Ford recommends seeking premeditated murder and the special circumstance of lying in wait because he watched and followed them onto the train before attacking at the station. The family agrees, hoping to send him to jail for the rest of his life. And as Ford reviews the phone calls Cowell made while in custody, he makes a breakthrough.
Mr. Cowell was happy to speak to his mental health caregivers because Mr. Cowell had mental health issues. There's no disputing that. But he also was forthcoming that he needed to stop taking his medication so that he could appear more crazy when the trial started. I think it was an absolute show.
During the trial, he tries to play up the idea that he can't control himself and doesn't know what he's doing. But the judge isn't fooled by his antics, ruling that he was sane at the time of the attack. John Cowell is convicted of the murder of Nia Wilson, the attempted murder of her sister Latifah, and the special circumstance of lying in wait. He is sentenced to life in prison without parole. With him behind bars for the rest of his life, Nia's family can finally start to move on with theirs.
Spend the rest of his life in prison. So I really think justice was served.
And I know Nia smiling down on her family, her sisters, her friends, all her loved ones, the community. I know she can rest in peace now.
But while her family knows the man won't be able to hurt anyone again, it's a bittersweet moment. Now that the trial is over, they struggle to move on, grieving the tragic loss and reality of life without Nia.
It's still a shock and overwhelming. Parts of me don't want to believe what's going on, and parts of me have to face reality.
It was just something that I couldn't believe, you know. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Messed around and had a stroke. I don't speak too clear. I have limited use of my right side.
While it's a long, healing journey, Nia's family members each have their own ways of finding the strength to keep going.
My dogs keep me up. We have a husky. She's very spoiled and she made me take her out for walks. She keeps me going. She's my therapy.
Nia's sisters still grapple with the guilt of surviving the attack, but with the help of therapy, meditation, and loved ones, Tashaya and Latifah are able to find themselves again. They know Nia would do anything to make them happy, and they see how her story spreads, impacting people across the country. The community comes together because of her, with hundreds of people showing up to her funeral.
She was dressed in gold and white, had a white casket. They gave her a carriage ride, released doves. It was beautiful.
The name Nia comes from the Swahili word purpose.
Nia's purpose lives on through others after her death. She was passionate about fighting for equal rights. She constantly put others ahead of herself, spreading kindness and compassion wherever she went.
When I think of Nia, I think of sunshine, big, bright, beautiful smile.
That was my baby. Like, a sister's love can never be defined.
Nia was very close with her friends and family, and she touched the lives of many near and far. Tributes continue to pour in across social media, with friends, strangers, and celebrities bringing attention to her story. NBA star Steph Curry hosts a high school basketball showcase, and he dedicates the game to Nia, raising over $20,000 for her family. Her school also honors her at what was supposed to be her graduation.
The class of 2018 is not complete without one more graduate.
I'm very proud. This is an achievement that me and my daughter sat down and spoke of several times, and it's so heartbreaking that she's not here to experience this for herself.
Nia loved music and dancing, and she dreamed of having her own dance studio one day. She also thought of becoming an EMT or paramedic, or even working in criminal justice. She always wanted to help people, and in 2019, her family created the Nia Wilson Foundation, dedicated to providing resources such as mental health counseling, homeless outreach, self-defense classes, and employment opportunities for young men and women. Nia's family thinks of her every day, working to honor her memory and continue her mission to make the world a better place.
I always say, Nia, you make me a better person. I carry my daughter's name with a heavy weight, so whatever I do, I think about her because I can't fail her in no type of way.
I think Nia wants to be remembered how she loved people, how she cared for people, her passion for people and rights for everybody.
Me and my daughters and the rest of us will see this through. We will make it, even though it's very hard and it's something that we'll think about for the rest of our lives. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
Pay attention to the woman coming out of her car in this footage. It was recorded in Lawrenceville, Georgia, on July 8, 2011. This is 44-year-old mother of three, Nikki Leili. It might look like any normal evening being captured by her husband's security system, but this footage hides a disturbing secret. Mere hours after it was recorded, Nikki disappeared, and somehow, none of the 21 security cameras hidden in and around the house managed to film what might have happened to her on this fateful night. All the police were able to recover was this haunting, half-corrupted audio recording.
Get the you not touch me! Oh, get off me! Get off! You stop! Let me go! Now!
15 years earlier, in January 1996, 5-year-old Alex was living with her then single mother, Nikki, in Athens, Georgia. Over the course of her short life, she has already witnessed her parents' divorce and her mother trying her luck with online dating.
I don't know that my parents were ever meant to be together. My dad dropped out of high school at 9th grade and made his way working through the world, and she was getting her master's degree, and so their lives were on different paths. Everything had been dark and hard with the divorce and being a single mom, so that just kind of was a light place for her to fall.
In the chat rooms, Nikki meets Matthew Leili, a charismatic and tech-savvy New Yorker. After dating online for a while, he moved in with her in Georgia. 2 years later, Nikki's second daughter, Amanda, was on the way, and on February 14th, 1998, the couple tied the knot.
It was kind of like one of those love stories that we would tell our friends, like, oh, they got engaged and married on Valentine's Day. My parents always seemed really happy. It definitely seemed like we were doing really well.
But away from her young sister's eyes, Alex is going through a tough time living with their father. The man treats her differently from his own daughter, constantly mocking and verbally abusing her. But Alex wasn't the kind to let anyone walk over her.
Like my mother, I have a temper, and it becomes this blurting anger. Screw you, you're a blah, blah, bleep, 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 bleep. I can honestly say there's never a point in my life where I truly cared or liked him.
As if this wasn't enough, their relationship went from bad to worse when Matthew decided to wire the entire house after Amanda's bike was stolen from under their porch. 21 cameras in total, some inside the house, some even recording audio.
It was very uncomfortable all of the time. You know, he had a camera in the living room that faced the couch. So if you wanted to sit down and watch TV, you were being monitored.
It wasn't just surveillance, it was recording the entire time.
It didn't seem odd for me to have cameras around the house. It was always kind of cool because my dad would be checking the camera footage from the night before and be like, oh, Amanda, get in here. There were deer in the front yard last night.
Following the wiring of the house, Matthew became obsessed with home security and made plans to turn his newfound passion into a business. In an effort to support him and pay off some of the debts the family piled up over the years, Nikki started working more, often over 65 hours a week. This seemingly trivial fact ended up having dire consequences. Somehow, Matthew convinced himself that Nikki was having an affair.
I just remember there was a point where they started arguing almost every night, and I'd be waking up a lot more. My mom would be yelling, she'd throw stuff, she'd scream and swear.
I'm not listening to the accusations anymore. I'm not listening to any more of your to the get the out of my way. Get out!
This situation was difficult for the three sisters, especially for Alex, who had endured Matthew's obnoxious behavior for years now. At 16 years old, she decided she had enough and packed her bags to go live with her biological father.
Alex told us, I'm not gonna live here anymore, I'm moving out. I remember kind of just all three of us just crying.
All I could think about was, I'm leaving my mom, I'm leaving my mom.
After Alex left the Leili's home, Nikki's sister, Amy Robinson, tried her best to keep the family together. In 2011, she organized a spa day for Nikki, Alex, Amanda, and their youngest sister, Rebecca, so that they could rekindle their relationships. Sadly, this would be the last time the three girls and their mother would be reunited.
Snapshots, everybody looks pretty happy. Good girls' day out.
Yeah, it was fun. And I'm beyond grateful now that we've done it, so.
Later that day, Alex explained to her little sisters that leaving was the only solution for her. Amanda assured her she wasn't resentful. In the 3 years since Alex left, she understood that the situation with her father was unbearable and that something had to be done.
She looked at me and said, this is the best thing for you.
But with Alex out of the picture, the situation worsened for Nikki, as Matthew, convinced she was hiding something, began spying on her.
I'm recording my wife. I've got a tracker on her.
And with this, Nikki finally reached her limit.
She called me up and she just said, that's it. I'm tired of all the mistrust. I'm done. I hate my husband. My marriage is over.
2 weeks later, Amanda heard her parents screaming at each other in the middle of the night.
Then eventually she'd kind of just storm out. And then I woke up the next morning and Mom wasn't there.
Matthew reassured Amanda and Rebecca, saying that their mother probably only left for a little while. However, 2 days passed with no signs of her. As the girls' concern deepened, they pressed Matthew to call their Aunt Amy, believing Nikki most likely had gone there after their last fight.
So I answered, and it was Matt. And he said, have you talked to Nikki? I said, no, why? What's going on? And he said, Nikki's missing. I said, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean she's missing? I said, how long has she been gone? And he said, I haven't seen her since Friday night. And I said, what? You need to call the police.
Matthew declared Nikki missing on July 11th and explained his theory concerning her whereabouts to Amy, Nikki's sister, and the officers.
Maybe she has run off with somebody, who knows? She made all the money. Maybe she was socking away money in a secret account that he didn't know anything about, and she took off.
For the following days, Matthew stuck to his story and added new details, painting Nikki in a bad light. This didn't make sense to Amy and Alex.
Matt said she's been having breakdowns and she's been just kind of losing her mind.
My mother was the farthest thing from crazy you could get.
2 weeks went by without much investigation and no media coverage, until Alex had an idea. If they organized a massive search party, the news would be forced to cover her mother's disappearance.
Frankly, grown woman having left her house wasn't that interesting a story. Well, 100 people getting together all wearing red shirts, so there's an interesting story, so they covered that.
And we met at the Walmart near her neighborhood. 100+ people came.
15 minutes after the search started, as the news crew started rolling, a piercing scream came from the woods.
Linda, we were just about to interview the missing woman's sister when we started hearing screaming coming out of just inside of those woods.
And I blacked out. I just remember hitting the ground. But as soon as I came to, I took off running. And I ran all the way to where the crime scene tape was.
He waited 2 days to even report her missing. And he told me that they'd had a huge fight and that, she wasn't well and that she'd been having breakdowns and stuff. But I saw her 2 weeks ago and she was fine.
And I'm just praying it's not her, but if it is, then I know she's with God. She's with her Jesus.
We're going to be roping this whole area off.
Investigators are talking with Leili's husband and searching the couple's home, but police say he is not a suspect.
Even Amy, who was extremely close to Nikki, didn't suspect her husband. On the contrary, his calm demeanor and focus on sheltering his young daughter seemed honorable at the time.
Matt's attitude about it was keep everything calm and keep the girls from, being panicked about their mom being gone. He was trying to protect them.
We didn't really know what happened to her. We were just told she was found dead.
At only 19, Alex became the family spokesperson in the aftermath. Day after day, she appeared on TV, reliving the struggle of her mother and dealing with the everlasting guilt she felt for leaving her 3 years ago.
It was the worst experience, and I hope I never experience that kind of pain in my life again. Ever.
This has taken all the strength from within me just to stand here now, because at 19, I never felt this would be a reality.
Immediately after Nikki's body was found, authorities put Sergeant Richter, District Attorney Jones, and Detective Everson in charge of the case. The three were then sent to examine the scene of the discovery.
When I saw her laying there in the ground, in the elements, the heat of July, underneath a pile of leaves, naked, I couldn't accept it.
The detectives were surprised to find two major clues from the autopsy report. One, Nikki's feet were completely clean, indicating that she didn't walk to the forest and was likely dropped there. Two, the presence of drugs in her blood.
She tested positive for an abnormal level of gamma hydroxybutyric acid, which is commonly known as GHB, which is called the date rape drug. Did somebody give Nikki Leili this drug in order to overpower her or ultimately to kill her?
Detective Everson took it upon himself to look into Matthew, who still wasn't a suspect at the time. When he learned that the man had a full security system at his disposal, filming in and outside the house 24/7, the detective went to the Leilis to see what he could find.
I had never seen anything like this in somebody's house before. I realized that this could be a gold mine of evidence because it showed every vantage point you could from leaving the house.
But sadly, it wouldn't be that easy. On the contrary, after copying over Matt's hard drive, Everson realized that over 500,000 video files were on it. They all had no titles, no dates, and no time.
It was looking for a needle in a stack of needles because you couldn't even tell you what you were looking for. There was so much video that literally the only thing I did for 4 months, about 60 hours a week, was watching video on my computer.
Eventually, Everson found something, but this discovery left the detective with more questions than answers.
I finally found one like July the 8th, the night of Nikki's disappearance. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I've got the right block, and no matter how much I looked, I didn't find anything else past that point, shortly after midnight. That is the last footage we had of Nikki.
48 hours of footage were missing. The cameras were only turned back on after Matthew had declared Nikki missing. Naturally, this tipped off the detective.
That was a little odd. For there to be a whole weekend of footage missing, that seemed to indicate there was something to hide.
Matthew was quick to claim Nikki was responsible for the missing footage. It was around this time that Amy and the rest of the family realized that a pattern was emerging. Every time the police found a hole in Matthew's story, he would blame Nikki for it.
I ran inside to check the camera system, and that's when I realized the cameras were off. And she always shuts it off when she leaves, when she's pissed off.
Matt had told us that Nikki pulled out the wires and messed up the whole system. It was clear he was trying to paint this picture that Nikki had gone round the bend and had lost her mind.
But Everson wasn't duped, and from then on, Matthew was the prime suspect. He took in his phone as evidence and was surprised to learn that he not only tracked and recorded the phones of Nikki, but also Alex, and even his own. The detective singled out many suspicious calls from the records. 3 of them were particularly concerning. After Nikki disappeared, but before he declared her missing, Matthew told his brother-in-law that he had filled out the paperwork needed to divorce her.
I told her if she doesn't straighten up, I'm going to divorce her. And I saw an attorney about it too, just yesterday.
The following day, in another call, he went on to explain that he planned to commit his wife to a mental institution.
I was at the courthouse swearing out a warrant for Nikki Leili for involuntary committal.
However, a week earlier, in another call, Matthew had a completely different tone. going as far as to manipulate Amanda into calling her mother to convince her not to file for divorce herself.
Hey, Mommy. Hey, baby, how are you? We need to save this family.
Your mommy has tried very, very hard. Amanda, hang up the phone, please.
Hey, I don't want a divorce, okay? May not be a perfectly functional family, but we're a family, and I'm gonna fight for my family. And that includes you.
Everson couldn't help but feel like Matthew's tone was threatening.
Yes, my husband.
The next call on the record was to 911.
My wife is yelling and screaming and just woke up the children. I think my wife just throwing a temper tantrum. I don't think we need the police.
Let me have her tell me that, sir. You don't need to come. I'll stay in my house all day.
Everson knew they didn't have enough for an arrest, but felt like he needed to question Matthew regarding all of these calls, happening mere days before his wife's disappearance. When he showed up at his doorstep, he was surprised to learn that Matthew, Amanda, and Rebecca had all moved to Vermont. After 7 months of investigation and no hard evidence to arrest him, the detective dropped the case and presented his findings to his sergeant, John Richter, who decided to take over the case himself.
He literally started over so that he could see if there's anything that anybody might have missed.
Richter sent all of the computer equipment and copies they received from Matthew to his department's digital forensic team. Eventually, they came back with some restored data from the computer. They uncovered a folder named Fights, containing thousands of audio clips. Similar to the video Everson had looked into, none of them were identified in any way. So for almost 2 years, the sergeant and the DA dug through the seemingly endless records of arguments between Nikki and Matthew, captured by the latter.
I know that when we go 2 days without sex, you're going to automatically assume I am on strike mode, no matter what else is happening.
It was absolutely awful to listen to those audio recordings.
At first, Richter and Jones were of diverging opinions. The audio recording clearly focused on Nikki's outbursts, with Matthew always sounding more reasonable.
Please. You do not want to do this with me right now at all.
What did I do?
I've spent 5 years trying to figure out how to damn please you.
You get this sense of maybe she is volatile and he's really the calm one in the relationship.
But to me, I could tell right away what he was trying to do. He was just trying to manipulate her to act like that.
And Richter was right. Upon closer inspection by the forensic team, they determined that almost every recording had pauses in them. Matthew was selectively recording only parts of their arguments.
He would start the recording after a huge blow-up that they had had, and then when he's calmed down, he wants to have a conversation about it.
He would talk to her for 6 hours. He would bring her into her room and discuss whatever rules he had in place that she was breaking.
Let the record show I am now locked in a room again. I don't want to be here. I don't want to have this conversation. I'm asked out of it.
The records show that she's being an absolute.
When they eventually finished going through the audio files, the pair had found multiple incriminating clips. To the murder accusation they planned to charge Matthew with, the district attorney added eavesdropping, illegal surveillance, and sexual assault.
There was evidence on the recordings that he was physically abusing her, and he was getting more and more frustrated, and he was getting more and more violent.
Get the you not touch me. Oh, get off me. Get off. You stop. Let me go. Now.
As the evidence kept piling up, the police still had nothing concerning the murder. That's when Richter had an idea. He asked the digital forensic team to virtually rebuild Matthew's surveillance system and locate where he would log his daily activities. Once they found it, they were able to determine what he had been doing with his computer in the days surrounding Nikki's disappearance. Written there, clear as day, were 2 heavily incriminating operations. On the day Matthew reported her missing and the day she was found, Matthew deleted dozens of video and audio recordings from his computer.
In order to do the deletion of the files, you had to be an individual that knew a password to the system. We knew that Matt Leili deleted the footage off the surveillance camera. We had enough evidence to charge Matt Leili with the murder of his wife.
At this point, 4 years had passed since Nikki's body was discovered, and Amanda, Rebecca, and Matthew had been away from Georgia for a while. Following the loss of their mother, the girls needed the support of their father, and weren't aware of the details of the suspicions surrounding him.
Rebecca and I just kind of clung on to my dad after losing her.
But as they grew older, they eventually realized why their family was split apart.
We just knew that my mom's side of the family thought my dad had killed her.
On her end, Alex kept trying to process the immeasurable guilt she felt for leaving her mom with Matthew. But as she too grew older, she slowly came to terms with the fact that at the time, there wasn't much she could have done.
I don't think she knew how to get out, and at the time I was so young I didn't know how to help her get out.
Now in her 20s, Alex wanted to do everything she could to bring justice for her mother. She had no idea this opportunity was just around the corner.
There was something I wasn't doing to help fight for justice. There was something I was missing. She just wanted to scream at the rooftop, you know, he did it, do something.
In an ironic twist, Matthew came back to Georgia to claim Nikki's life insurance money. As he was walking out of the building, he came face to face with Sergeant Richter, waiting for him with an arrest warrant.
The look on his face when we placed the cuffs on him and tell him he's under arrest, it's just a great feeling.
I grabbed my phone and looked it up, and I'm like, holy my dad was just arrested.
This is a prepaid collect call from
Matt.
an inmate at Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, listen to me very carefully. Make sure you tell people we have set up a YouTube channel to tell you the truth about what happened in our home. My daddy's now in jail because of these false allegations. It's time we tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Unaware of the evidence accumulated against her father, Amanda created a YouTube channel called Nikki Leili's Kids Speak Out.
Finally time for us to tell the truth and for us to call them out on their lies.
In her videos, she followed her father's instructions to the letter.
Say something insulting. This pathological lying family that doesn't want their dirty laundry aired.
The family is making sure that we can't say anything to keep their dirty laundry from being aired.
Matthew also insisted that anytime a journalist approached her, Amanda should tell them about the YouTube videos, and soon enough, every news channel in Georgia was reporting on them. As the public opinion shifted between Amanda and Alex's side, the latter couldn't believe her own sister betrayed her.
It breaks my heart, to be completely honest. You know, they said some hateful things about our family. They painted our mom like someone she really wasn't.
As angry as I had been with them because, you know, they had posted those YouTube videos, I knew where it was all coming from. I knew that they had been manipulated.
The way my dad put it to us was they're trying to take us away from him, but we still 100% believe that he was innocent.
As the date of the trial approached, Matthew began exposing Amanda to things no 14-year-old girl should ever have to deal with in preparation for his session.
He would make me listen to all the recordings of him and my mom arguing, and I would have to take notes on them.
Damn it! Oh, your voice!
Traumatized by what she was hearing, but still under the influence of her father's manipulation, Amanda was at a crossroads. Either she continued to help him, wishing he was honest when he told her that, even though he and Nikki had their share of fights and issues, he wasn't the one who killed her, or she could refuse and end up alone, rejected by both sides of her family for her inaction. Lost, she attempted to convince her dad to leave her out of this.
Whenever I would ask him, like, why can't your lawyer do this? He would just say, don't you love me? Don't you want me to come home? You're the only one I can trust to do this.
Crushed by the pressure her dad put her under and the unbearable loneliness she was going through without the support of her family, Amanda resigned and accepted to be her father's key witness at the upcoming trial.
Like, I still love him. Like, he's my dad, and I have good memories of him. It's just really hard to think of, like, my dad as doing something like that.
The idea of losing the only parent she had left was overwhelming. With the fate of her entire family weighing on her shoulders, the teenager reluctantly began preparing for her testimony.
It was kind of just constantly feeling guilty. So I was just kind of felt like I was alone.
On January 27, 2016, Matthew's trial began. District Attorney Jones opened her address by playing a short clip of Nikki talking to her husband after one of their fights.
Welcome to my world. You killed me a long time ago.
Alex was eager to finally tell the jury and the judge what she had on her mind for all these years.
I wanted him to know what was going on in the house. I wanted him to know that I suspected him from the beginning, that my mom would have never left her girls.
She was the first called to the stand, and her testimony lined up perfectly with what the authorities found in the recordings recovered from Matthew's computer.
They'd be arguing and he would end up locking her in a bathroom. She'd been shoved downstairs. There were several nights that I would lay up at night and listen to her say, "Please get off of me, you're hurting me."
But the defense also had its own key witness. Amanda flew all the way from Vermont to take the stand for her father. During her testimony, she went with his version of the events, claiming that Nikki was at fault for being allegedly insane.
She was pacing back and forth saying that she was hearing voices, and like the voices in her head were telling her that people were talking bad about her.
But Jones wasn't afraid to call into question the young teenager's reliability.
We made our own decision. We don't like that side of the family, so we want to stay away. It's not him forcing us to stay away from them.
The fact that Amanda immediately mentioned her father when Jones cast doubt upon her raised a few eyebrows in the courtroom. Her defensive testimony, when added to all the circumstantial evidence gathered by Richter and Jones, only amplified the jury's impression that Matthew was a master manipulator ready to push anyone to get what he wanted, even his own daughter.
He murdered her in that house, in that room, when he had his way with her.
Prosecutor Jones let the victim's own words fill the courtroom just before jurors were given the case.
You telling me you should have killed me, putting your hands around my throat?
I should have let you kill. Why should I bother being the one to do it?
After over 3 hours of deliberation, the jury declared Matthew guilty of malice murder, felony murder, illegal surveillance, and eavesdropping.
Nikki Leili's family looked shocked and cried as that verdict came down in a short 3.5 hours from when the jury began deliberations.
As soon as I heard guilty, I probably squeezed her hand so hard, I'm surprised it didn't break. So it's just so like, did he just say guilty? Did he say guilty? Are you sure?
What ultimately convinced the jury, on top of the deletion of footage and the audio clips, was the story uncovered by Jones that put all the pieces together.
Matt Leili and Nikki, they did go out that evening. They came back shortly after midnight. Do I think he drugged her? I do. I think he gave her the GHB. He just wanted to absolutely gain control over her.
Why did he do it? Because she was leaving him. Based on his controlling personality, he wasn't going to let her leave. If I can't have you, no one will.
Following the sentencing, Alex was saddened by Amanda's refusal to make peace. She went on with her life, hoping that one day her sisters would listen to reason and reunite with her and Amy.
We had lost not only Nikki, but both of them too.
They were my girls. I still love them to this day. Taught them how to read, got them ready for school in the morning. I would love to have a relationship with them again. I don't know that that day will ever come, but I want them to know my door's always open.
Away from her father's influence, Amanda eventually took back control of her own thoughts and was able to reevaluate the situation. She had listened to the clips herself. She saw the pictures of her mother's injuries. She heard the DA explain that Nikki was drugged, and on top of it all, she saw that her father deleted the footage of that night. There was no way around it. Even though she loved him, Amanda had to face the truth once and for all.
And then once I started feeling like he wasn't innocent, I was kind of almost disowned in a way. Then I just started crying. And like that was the first time I had really started crying in years about like my mom and my dad and everything that was going on.
In the wake of this cathartic experience, Amanda reached out to her long-lost sister. For over 8 years, the two had been totally estranged, not even talking to each other. However, thanks to the truth being revealed and justice finally being served, they now had an opportunity to start anew.
Now that we've rekindled a relationship, it has been incredible. Last year, I went up to help Amanda move into her dorm for the first time. And when I got on the plane, I bawled like a baby because I said I wasn't supposed to do that.
Amanda had been holding her grief inside for all this time, but now that she had been reunited with Alex and her aunt, She was finally able to process her pain and think of her mother in a new light, without her father's incessant hatred.
Now that I've reconnected with my mom's side of the family, I'm able to think about her a lot more now, and I definitely feel like she'd be proud of who I am. I feel like if I was able to speak to her, just tell her how much I miss her.
For everybody who knew her, Nikki was always considered to be a fighter, a fierce woman with ambition and a tenacious personality. But as strong as she was on the outside, she was secretly suffering at home, proving that abuse can happen to anyone, as so many of its victims are suffering in silence. To honor her memory, Amanda, Alex, Amy, and Rebecca wants every victim of abuse to know that there is always a way out.
There's this shame that goes along with being a victim of abuse. You are not the person who's done anything wrong. The abuser is who's wrong. You are worthy of love and respect. Make sure to tell someone you're not alone.